Halloween.
So at this time, I will call this Toledo City Council work session for July 24th, 2024 to order. First item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I will take a roll call. Councilor Sylvia.
Yeah.
Councilor Burns.
Yes.
Councilor Strom.
Yes.
Councilor Kaufman. Not present. Councilor Mix. She is attending, but only to observe, per her husband and my orders. And I am present. We have 5. We have quorum. We can conduct business.
I'm here too.
Who said I'm?
Kim.
You
Oh.
missed me.
Oh, did I miss you?
Yeah.
I don't know how I could miss you.
I
Council
know.
President Bush. Sorry, Kim.
It's good.
He's here. Jackie's here, Rod.
Sorry.
You're good. All right, visitors' public comment. Is there anyone who would wish to address council upon any item not on the current agenda?
There's nobody in the audience raising their hand and there is no one online there.
All right, thank you.
I wanna, but I was told that I could do this, because I talked to city manager. So,
Okay, so Jackie, if you
Yes.
want to do this in this format, you need to get up from behind the dais and go around and be like any other visitor.
Okay.
Regular sense.
Okay, so that,
Scoot into the hot seat.
okay.
And no, I that you're gonna.
What?
No conflict of interest.
No, okay.
Wanted to make sure.
My name is Jackie Burns.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I, crossed paths with Frank and Stu over the weekend and asked them if they could take me on a tour of the city, because I can't find anything. I don't know where anything's at. And Frank said he uses Google, and Stu had a brilliant idea and said, why don't we check with the city manager and see if we can't get someone in Public Works to give us a tour so we can find stuff. So that's what I want. Do we need to say more?
And I just brought it up that we might as well invite the whole council and we can put something together to take a day
Party
to
bus?
take the whole council around to our.
You got some van.
Okay, folks, in the
Done.
past, we have done this. We've done a half-day tour. It has included everything within the city limits. It's also included Mill Creek Dam and our Siletz intake.
Yes.
Which I think would be a good thing for us all to see. And I especially would like to do this before we get into the rainy season, because we've tried Mill Creek in the rainy season, and let's just say we got stuck, and I don't want to do that again.
We don't want to get stuck.
I like that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I have one more thing. A different thing. Can I do it now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I really liked the parades. And I thought it would be kind of nice if we could have a pet parade, like a dog parade.
Oh, that would be fun.
I think that would be fun. So there you have it. That's all I've got to say about that. Am I done?
Could
Yep.
end at the dog park. Now you gotta come up here and do regular business.
Oh. Okay,
That's great.
starting and ended
Well,
the.
I will, on your comment and if with the blessing of the council, I can talk with Public Works Director to try to get a day here maybe by mid-August, if we can get together and do such a thing. So, okay, if everybody's interested.
Yes.
And then might we be able to send out like what day doesn't work? So we can.
Right.
kind of-
We'll get
We can-
like a doodle.
Yeah, we can do
thingy.
doodle polls. Good.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next item is consent agenda. There are no items for discussion this evening. Now up, discussion items. Discussion in regards to parking alternatives on Main Street. I believe that has been worked out as far as what the business owners would like to have. And that is a 15-minute loading, unloading zone in front of Green Dragon. That's not specifically for them, but just have one there. Is that what the rest of the council has heard and they're talking with the public?
Yes. That's, I have not heard a thing. I would say that most of the people I talked to were wanting to do the unloading, loading places 15 minutes, but they weren't wanting to designate specifically for the business only.
Any other comments?
Mayor, there's a PowerPoint presentation that shows parking
Oh, my goodness.
up and down Main Street if you,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, it's crazy not to watch it after you make it.
Well, if you
It's a
made
little-
it, you
it's-
better
it's a
show
little
it.
convoluted, but it's pictures from
Oh,
last
my
Wednesday.
God. Did you just say convoluted?
No. No.
Well, if you have one ready, let's go for it.
I don't recall.
Thought we were just waiting on Mike, who's drinking his coffee.
Building suspense. PowerPoint.
So at the request of Counselor Kaufman, a portion of the presentation also goes into parklets, although not,
Into what? Parklets.
can I what?
You'll see.
You can't.
What's a parklet?
She said you'll see.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's downtown parking. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, I know why. Actually, in.
I've read about them before, yes.
Ah,
There you go, Mike.
So
Yeah.
we're just talking about North and South Main Streets, which you're up at the top of North Main, looking down in the left picture. As I came farther down the street, there's the truck in the lower right-hand corner that's unloading a refrigerator in the travel lane. So these are probably some things that we've all heard at different times, not enough parking downtown. Shoppers, people that live there, different people have complained. I think it's a cyclic thing that the council has dealt with many times since October of 2015. And so I kind of put together an agenda, find out what people, you can call them stakeholders, think is the downtown parking problem. Going to do an overview of Main Street parking and introduction of parklets, and we can imagine and discuss ideas and solutions and decide next steps. So, I just ask, is there a parking problem downtown? Some cities go to the point where they hire a consultant who actually each hour sees how that parking space is being used and figures out what the biggest problem is. And I know Justin plans to do that for another community, in a couple months, our contract planner. And they kind of look at, and I'd ask you to think about what time of day is parking most limited? Do you have what solutions? And again, you wanted to go beyond just the request by Green Dragon. Are there conflicts between residential, business, retailers? So here is next slide, Lisa. Click the arrow down at the bottom. Bottom left. Oh, down. Well, that'll work too. I think if you just click, yeah, it's playing on its own. You're not. It's operator error. It's about a minute long, but it'll run down Main Street.
I gotta click it again, Lisa, I think it's.
Or it stopped. I'm not sure. See where the equal sign up and down.
The pause button.
The pause button.
No.
That's down in the left-hand corner, down below the picture. That's what I,
Oh, the play?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it was play on my screen. It's not a pause.
What's a parklet?
we'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay, you forwarded. Well, we didn't make it all the way to the bottom. Well, let's make it a little bit farther, at least to the next block, because we'll turn, it'll turn and swing and you can look at Green Dragon. So as we're playing along, now we're gonna back up. Now you're gonna swing. There's Green Dragon, the glass doors with the right in front of that blue car. So that's the request. Most of that curb is yellow. I would note not to this mapping system, this particular map was done in 2019, and the parking spaces are not need to be remarked downtown.
Why, yes, they do.
Repainted.
Yeah.
They're really bad. Next slide, Lisa. So this is somewhere where it gets, people would say convoluted, but the little squares in, up at the top of North Main, as you come down right there on that right side, you've got 6 parking spots. You've got 5 on the other side because of the driveway up above 9,300. And so where the arrow is pointed is kind of the direction and where I was standing when I took the photograph. So you'll note you can't see it very well, but on the right-hand side, the parking sign that says, limited hours right there during Wednesdays for when we street sweep. The picture in the bottom right-hand corner, you look up next to City Hall, there's diagonal parking. And you would go to the next slide. So now we're down to the next block, and City Hall's the 11,400 building. The 11,500 tax lot is the city's parking lot. And you can see in this block, you've got 2 green compact car onlys. You've got 5 city employee parking along that north side. You've got a couple electric charging stations. You got one handicap spot in the city parking lot and 5 other spots, and then another 3 in the other corner next to the electric parking. Those are occupied all the time, and I think it's people in the apartment building over here primarily. But you know, if you see you can see right at the bottom of this is where you see that, again, the truck that stopped in the travel lane while I was walking down the street counting spots. The red, there's 3 handicapped on this block. The one that's out on the street is not well marked. And there's a 15-minute parking up
In front of City Hall.
the upper right-hand corner outside City Hall. So next slide. We come down to the next block, and this is where Green Dragon is, and the proposed 15-minute that they want is right there with the plus sign. Again, you're looking at 8 spots down below that along the street. On the other side, because of entrances into 3100, 13200 and 13300, there's only 5, and then there's the handicapped. Yeah, really long, almost a loading zone there in front of the
So,
hotel.
Counselor, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, interrupt it as much as any questions you have.
Just more of a comment. That was a loading zone that had been there for the hotel so that taxis and in modern times Ubers and whatnot could use that to always be able to drop people off at the front door of the hotel. We might want to look at changing that into 1 or 2 regular parking spots. With that, I also think that we need to put a handicap parking spot on the other side of that street somewhere.
Okay.
On that block?
Yes, because right now we only have 1.
Yeah, I think.
Is there a legal amount that you're supposed to have per city block?
I was wondering.
There's not.
There's not.
There's not, but a standard practice
Yeah.
is generally 1 per block on each side.
So
Yep.
2 per block?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a general practice.
Yep.
And usually they're at one of the ends where you, so you have wheelchair access to get in on.
Yeah, 'cause what is it
That's
called?
why we
I
were
don't
trying to
care
get
what
that
it-
spot with the plus sign. That's where we tried to get the handicap parking.
That's the most logical place for
And-
it,
Yeah, so
but. Yeah, that's good. That's good feedback on the loading zone out front of the hotel, Mayor.
well, it was handy there when they had the restaurant and the bar
Right.
and a lot of customers.
Between the restaurant, the bar, and the hotel, it was
Because
used a
the
lot.
truck loading and unloading and
Yep.
taxis and the
So,
So here's my question, if
customers.
if
unloading.
Cafe 235 is moving in there, won't they need a loading and unloading?
Cafe, no.
As of right now, the cafe is not moving in there.
They're not.
Oh, as of
Things
late.
So another issue, if you look along the bottom of the slide on the right side, it looks like you have slanted parking, much like on the upper side by City Hall. If you look at the picture here, it reflects what we did the last time. We kind of painted almost the corner of the parking spots so that everybody's parking along the curb coming down that hillside. And you can see that in the picture that's immediately right closest to the key. I think one way to increase parking might be to make those diagonal again, because the street is
You mean along the hotel?
definitely wide. Yeah, along the side of the hotel.
Because if, the reason that was changed is because too many people with
Long
big
pickups.
vehicles, you couldn't, it was almost head-on collisions every morning.
Well, but did they have it in both directions at the time? Did they have slanted on both sides? Because it looks like historically they did. I'm just proposing slanted next to the hotel and leave the other straight on.
No, because once you go start coming down that hill, you meet the transit bus or anybody else, you're gonna have trouble because people that are parking there have these big vehicles and unless you're gonna ticket them if they go past the lines, and that's not gonna work out. The reason it was changed is because we had too many close calls.
Well, and I think if we're gonna keep it this way, it needs to be better marked than it is. Because if I'm from out of town, I can't tell you which way. I can't tell you if it's along the curb or if it's diagonal.
Just painted them before Art Oysters and Brews last year and I saw everybody being confused. Some were parking diagonally, some were parking parallel. Nobody knew what was what, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, when I moved here on the other side of that, on
Down below.
Roosters place down below, it's double marked like that. So I always thought it was just optional, whichever way you wanted to do.
Yes, that works.
I think we tried to mark them out, but.
It didn't
you know,
work.
Yeah.
It washed off.
Yeah, it washed off.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to create.
So if you could go back through and cover the diagonal ones.
Yeah.
But if you do, you're gonna wind up with trouble.
So Stu, the safety issue was that it wasn't marked clearly?
No, the safety issue is that they had too many big vehicles that were parking. Yes.
Our town
And
was
you
built.
can't do two cars going up and down.
Yeah,
the hill.
long pickup.
Yeah.
But at the time, both sides were diagonal, right?
If you park in front of that hotel, you're gonna have trouble.
It's
You
the
got
wrong
no
side.
parking, yeah.
Like, it's just like where I park
Yeah.
on the side of City.
And the
Hall.
hotel now has its own
Yeah,
parking.
yeah. I know that's my point. They're diagonal on both sides of the street. Or if we made it diagonal on the hotel side and left it straight on the other side, there might not be an issue.
So
We have another big pickup because of the way it was marked.
But any.
Okay.
I can't hear it on my driveway right now.
may I interject, please?
Please.
I'm thinking that one of the ways to solve this, and we will lose parking overall, we'll lose some parking spots, but do the slanted on the uphill side of the street, do parallel parking on the downhill side of the street with those cushions that we have, like we have down on the main part of Main Street, so that people don't get backed up right in against one another if possible.
No, I'm old. And so when I park uphill, it's hard for me to get my door open. So if I could park slanted downhill, I could get out of my car easier. I don't think I'm the only old person in
No.
town.
But trust me, I know exactly how you feel, but I also know that it's the downhill side is where we've had troubles in the past with
Yeah.
people doing crazy crap.
So
Yes.
could we go one step further and the diagonal parking on the one side be marked as compact?
Is what parking?
Compact cars only.
That would work, but we'd
And it
have to
would get rid of
enforce
the
it.
problem with trucks sticking
Oh,
out
for
and
trucks,
people
yeah.
having to go
Yeah.
around.
But we'd have to enforce it, so that would be, that's just something we have to be aware of.
I mean, it's something to think about.
At the time, the hotel did not have their own parking, and since then, I
Right.
believe they've acquired that parking lot.
Yes,
And if
they have.
Cleaned it up, they could probably get more cars in there
Mhm.
for the people that are supposed to park there.
There's the P word right there, supposed to.
Supposed to, yeah.
Well, how many
Um,
parking tickets have we give out this year? One?
None.
None?
Not that I'm aware of.
There's part of the problem right there. People can park wherever they want.
If we're gonna do that, I suggest that we revisit our parking fines.
I was gonna say, we have,
Yeah.
before we can start issuing parking tickets, we have to have our own ordinance, otherwise the money just goes to the county.
And that's what,
And so
well,
we're giving the money to the county and paying our guys to write the tickets, so wait a minute. Shouldn't part of the ticket money compensate
No,
us
shouldn't
for,
all of the ticket money
Yeah.
come to the city? Yes.
I would think
Agreed.
so.
but
If it's our people and we're doing the work, yeah.
yeah, why are we paying the county? So that's why we don't issue parking tickets, because it's a waste of our time
Resources.
to give them money.
There you go.
So would that be something we need to add for
Yes.
future discussion?
Yes, most definitely.
well, that's what
Top
we're,
of the list on parking
Yeah,
that's
is,
what we're hoping to get to here today is kind of the next steps.
Okay.
Parking
it's just been kind of
tickets.
because of
I
that.
mean, if there's not gonna, I mean, what's the point if we're not gonna be able to enforce it?
There you go.
Well, kind of like we just
can,
did
we
the
choose not to.
livability code to give Ron teeth to be able to go after people for doing things wrong in our city. We gotta be able to give our police department teeth to be able to write those fines and have the money come to us.
Mhm.
Yep.
Why have the ordinance, why have parking?
We need the ordinance to give us the money. That's what I said.
It's all about the money. but I'd
Why
say-
write a ticket
Right
and
now,
pay
it's the
them the money?
So,
Yeah.
all right,
Okay.
folks. Number one, I think we're all agreed that we need to work on the parking. Number two, I think it's agreed we need to look at an ordinance so that if we are going to cite people, the money comes to us. Next slide, please.
So
Timber.
in the, as you come down the street, North Main, there's 16 parking spots in the city lot that's next to Brewster's Building and Timbers. And one of them is a handicapped spot that did
Yes.
not get marked because when I walked through the lot the first time, there was a large truck parked over it. In a subsequent walk down the street, there is one handicap.
Yes.
You have 4 spots along on the east side. And then you have 5, 6 spots on the west side. And they're along that west side, they're kind of 2 by 2. If you look real close, they've got the little hatchet marked as we saw
Right.
going down the overview. Next slide.
Well, wait.
Hold. Go back,
Back
please.
on that one, Timbers was also asking for that loading, unloading, I thought, to go alongside the food.
But but after discussions, the downtown association, which Charlie and Emily are a part of, agreed that for the sake of, for lack of a better word, simplicity, just leaving the one with up near Green Dragon.
Okay.
Now I have a question on this. So we see the bank, okay, the 4800 block is bank parking. The lot and a half, if you will, farther up the hill from there, is that owned by the bank or is that owned by the city?
Bank.
It's bank parking.
I think.
upstairs.
Yeah, the one on the upper lot is the bank as
Yeah.
well. That's where
Yeah.
they make their employees park.
Okay. One of the things that, if we go through all of this, I would like to ensure that the bank marks that parking as available on weekends, on nights and weekends. Because there's been many questions during Art Oysters and Brews about whether people can actually park up there or not.
They were parking there this weekend and I didn't see anybody get towed.
Well, I think, no, what I'm getting at, Stu, is
Yeah.
everyone in town knows that it's the banks, right? The question that patrons were having is, can we park there when the bank's not operating? And I told them yes. So I just want to have a little bit more authority to be able to say that.
Now, I don't know, if I own the bank and I own that property, I don't know that I would be wanting to let the public. Like, what does that mean
always
for
let us
liability?
Anybody can use that parking lot for business hours. They don't even care during business hours if they've got enough parking for customers.
Okay,
You know, so a couple of extra cars in there.
Might be,
I've not seen them chase anybody out of their
Never.
parking lot that have parked and they're down parking, because I've gone over to Timbers and seen people park there and walk
All
across.
the time.
They never chase anybody else.
That's what I
don't think they'll
mean.
get
It's like,
it, honestly.
especially on the weekends and.
Yeah.
just want to make,
Okay.
it's called making sure, folks.
They did just change owners.
Yes, they did, and they
So we
changed
should have a
managers
policy.
like, they change managers too about every 6 months, so,
So we should have a policy change.
yeah.
well, and the
It's a bank.
carrot stick of forcing private property, whether it's owned by a corporation or not, to allow it to be open to the public is a delicate thing to maneuver that might not be
It
imposed.
be.
it sounds like a discussion that downtown association could talk to them.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, next slide.
So this is kind of at the bottom, all simple parking spots. You kind of see the hatch marks between
Mm-hmm.
the groups of twos along the west side. And that's kind of public parking there. Again, you've got a private parking lot there in 3100. A lot of port parking down there that you can see on 2472. Says CS 20, it's a county survey reference, but in the lower left-hand corner. The next slide,
Well, Mike, one thing we'll
unless you
have
have a
to,
question. Yeah,
well, just a comment, we're gonna need to put in at least one handicap parking and preferably two. Because we currently have none on the street there.
One in front of the bank and one in front of, what's the big 30 whatever restaurant now? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I made a note, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Don't
Don't worry, Jackie, I'm looking out for us old folks.
Thank you.
I just slapped a portion of the slide deck in there that was used way back when I was the planner and the attorney. You kind of see some pictures of parklets, kind of get an idea of what we're gonna talk about. Next slide. It's kind of the agenda. We're gonna introduce you to parklets. Additional parklets discussion, summarize next steps. We didn't really get to that before, but you kind of see in that upper right-hand corner that parklets are really, we'll get into it, but some of them are public, some of them are private, some of them are businesses that are renting the spot for tables to have outdoor seating for a restaurant. Next slide.
It's never anything to do with parking.
No,
Oh,
other than it's using parking spots. It's leasing. parking
Where were you
space.
when COVID hit? Oh, that's right. You were off serving our country. Thank you for your service, but this is what we were talking about during COVID.
This is what we talked about before he went.
Yeah, did you guys talk about it?
No.
Don?
Yes.
Not enough.
Well, okay, that might be true, but
It's just one of those.
Yeah, this was something that
When it seems,
I think it's a great idea, but we're so short on parking.
Yeah.
I wouldn't give up parking spots for it.
if we're trying to
This
find
is
parking
somebody's
spots.
ability to commit a parking spot to themselves. If I had a business on Main Street and I want my own damn parking spot in front of my own damn business, I could pay the money to rent the parking spot. I can put tables out there during the day and I can park there at night. I can do whatever I want with my parking spot. And I pay the city the money for my parking spot.
Well, and you could limit it
And
to,
there are some restrictions.
yeah, there's some criteria that's established of
Right.
what you can actually put in the parking
You
spot
can't live
as
in
far
your
as,
parking spot.
construction materials. But, next slide. So, I mean, kind of same thing. It just provides more space, amenities, places to sit for people using the sidewalk. Usually it's parking lanes or several parking spaces. We have the one thing that I haven't mentioned. I did not pull out an ODOT manual and look at the width, the length of a parking spot. But as you go up and down Main Street, our parking spaces are huge.
Yeah.
Not everybody's driving a Humvee. And
No, but
There's a lot
everybody's
of
driving a
pickups.
pickup that's a heck of a lot bigger than it needs to be.
Yeah.
well, hey,
Yeah.
yeah. I am too, and I think I'm parked next to Doug out there. We fit in regular parking spots.
No offense, guys, but I'm trying to figure out how often you need that much of a rig. Been there, owned one. Don't need that much. Anyway, moving on.
Go to Tassus.
Next slide. So these were Eugene kind of laying out once upon a time. Next slide. It's hard to see. You know, typically the standards, it's all established by ordinance. And you know, you come up with an application, design, documentation. Required OLCC permit if they're gonna serve alcohol outside and fees. And it's basically a revocable permit to encroach on the right of way. Next slide. And it's public, private, or hybrid both. The upper left-hand corner is Portland. Milwaukee's on the right side. Next slide. Milwaukee, once upon a time, in 17 was charging $40 a month. Next slide. Additional examples from unknown locations. Next slide. Astoria, Long Beach, California, in the bottom right. I can't read the bottom left. Next slide.
Valencia Street, San Francisco.
Clayton, Missouri. London, England at the bottom. Next slide. And you know, some of it, yeah, I mean, it's figuring out where to give up parking or figuring out where there's a large right of way that we're not using. Which I think is kind of how the park got improved down at the bottom of the street.
So what do you think about, and this is for the whole council and for and for Mike and for all of staff, what if we came back in not our next meeting, but the meeting after, and why don't we, as in each of us individually, sit down and write out what we'd like to see, and then come back and go into this again now that we have, because I see a lot of possibilities, and I'm sure other people see a lot of possibilities and probably a lot of pitfalls. I don't think we'd be able to solve it tonight. But I think it is something we should add to the agenda in a couple weeks so that we can go a little bit more in depth to how would this work in Toledo?
And Mayor, this is the last slide of the 17, I think. Next slide, Lisa. So, which is kind of where you're at. Do you imagine, discuss possible solutions? So happy to do that. Happy to bring it back if that's what you guys want, Mayor.
What do you think, council?
I think what we need to do is, again, keep looking at Main Street, but also you should involve the current business owners and the downtown people to get some good ideas. The parklets could work on limited basis. If somebody was having a special event or something, that might work. But since basically we have two eateries on Main Street, and that's, well, beside on the south one end of Main Street, that if they were gonna do something and wanted to rent some spaces or a parking spot out in front, that would maybe be something that we could look at getting some wording in there.
And I think where Mike's going with this is if those are options as we move forward, if we write a new ordinance on parking, which we're gonna have to do in enforcement, this would be the time to address if there will be an ability to lease and do those sorts of options. So.
Well, that would incorporate what we've done with the construction stuff too.
Correct.
So there should be an overall view with more than just our thought.
Well, that's another reason why you got to come back in a couple of weeks at least.
Well, one of the reasons that the ideas of the parklets came up was because we have ordinances on how much the business can overflow from their business into the sidewalk.
Correct.
So if you're familiar with Beer One and the old setup.
Yep.
They had an inset porch. So they had their beer garden into their overflow in the sidewalk in Newport. So they had a little porch out there to have customers. Charlie can't do that. I couldn't do that at Holy. McBaron's couldn't do that. We don't have enough flow space into the sidewalk, so we can't have outside seating.
Well,
unless it's in the parking space.
235 does outside seating. and they have been.
One line.
Yes, it's a small.
It's one line.
Yeah.
It's not enough to have a comfortable seating area for like 2 or 3 people sitting at a table. That's too wide.
Well, that's made for like a table.
And have handicapped wheelchair.
Yeah, that's the problem, is you have to have the access. So if you get a comfortable group of 3 at a table for 2, you're done. You can't have your tables out there anymore. So that's why we started talking about the parklet idea, because Charlie has some stuff that he wants to do where his customers can sit outside and have dinner.
Mhm.
But you can't do it on the sidewalk. Right. Has to do it in the parking spot. Yeah. Can't do it in the parking spot because it's a parking spot. Right.
You're gonna have dinner in one of the parking spots.
But if he had it closed in, kind of, like a nice little park, seating spots. But that's where the idea came up.
Yeah.
Was because our sidewalk ordinances don't allow for that activity on the sidewalk. So we're trying to get people outside their businesses.
Yeah, we need to all work.
But you can't do it on the sidewalk.
Well, I don't think there's a problem with bringing it back for discussion, because the discussion is how we get things worked out, whether it's for or against. I mean, we're gonna be able to come up with it. So I think Rod's idea of bringing it back in a couple weeks.
So that's why I think it would be good to include as an option, a possibility.
Maybe we could bring it up at our next work session next month.
So if we write an ordinance and block it.
So
Sorry.
how about this? We bring it back as an agenda item on the 21st. make sure the Main Street Association knows so that they're able to come in and weigh in. Okay. Does that sound all right with people? Because that would give us, that's literally 4 weeks out.
Yep, that sounds good.
Gives ample enough time for the businesses down there to have a little meeting and get together and come
Right,
up with what they feel and then come in here and talk to us about it.
exactly. So does that work for everyone?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, let's plan on that then. Let's put that on the agenda for the 21st.
And
Of
in
August.
the meantime, do a draft ordinance.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, go ahead and get
that
one
would
started
be-
so that we can at least discuss it.
draft parking ordinance so that we could, collect the fees.
Sounds good.
All right. Next item, housing discussion. Mike, do you want to kick us off?
We have another PowerPoint, Mayor.
Beverages, if you're gonna have this many PowerPoints.
Wow.
You could, I'm not sure that he could.
Mike, I just want to say thank you for joining the 21st century.
Yeah, well, I don't know. That was kind of convoluted, but anyway, this is what we're gonna run through as an agenda. Next slide, Lisa, we're gonna go faster this time. This was a presentation once upon a time on tiny houses. I was focused on the ones with wheels, not on a foundation, mostly because of regulatory issues. Next slide. So part of the reason I put this in here was because we're talking about housing and we're gonna get into we want to talk about affordable housing versus workforce housing. This kind of talks a little bit about Oregon's land use system. And next slide. So you probably know it's state, city, counties, special districts all regulate land use in their own spheres. DLCD kind of regulates comprehensive plans, zoning. When something's appealed, it's city planning commission, county planning commission, city council or county commissioners usually get a second bite of the apple. Then if it's actually a land use matter, it goes into before the Land Use Board of Appeals. It's 3 attorneys in Salem that are part of an agency that LUBA that we'll make the decision, and from there it gets appealed to the Oregon Court of Appeals. Next slide. So tiny houses, once upon a time, we were talking about granny cottages, in-law units, secondary units, accessory dwellings. Since that time, as a state, since 17, we've really broadened accessory dwelling units. In my absence while I was gone on military leave, Justin wrote an ordinance for cottage clusters that allow more than one house on a particular piece of property. Kind of the smaller tiny house model. Next slide. Building codes. I mean, some of the issues, they specify the minimum standards for the construction of any house or how a house should be built. When you put them on wheels, they're more like RVs, and the regulatory piece is a little bit different. So you normally have a minimum lot size in a zone, and and if you do a planned development, you can usually put more houses on. But when you're talking about tiny houses, you're talking about mobile home versus a foundation. You're talking about wheels versus not. Next slide. This was just interesting. There was a tiny house hotel in Portland at the time that were all on wheels, that the city allowed them to just park. And it was pretty cool and pretty reasonable. Next slide. They also allowed accessory dwelling units, which the legislature passed. Anywhere you have a residential use, you can do an accessory dwelling unit. But at least in a lot of the counties, for example, Lynn County, where I live, let you have ADUs in farm forest, in 2.5 acre, 2 acre and 1 acre rural residential tax lots. And that was it. So they really limited it, which I don't think was the intent of the legislature when they passed that. But next slide. The city of Eugene kind of did this for transitional housing. It was Opportunity Village Eugene. And they basically set up a nonprofit. The chief of police, the mayor, the city manager, by position, were named part of the nonprofit board. I've looked at the documents. They kind of had a one place for showers and kitchen, and really they didn't have electrical. A bunch of the churches helped put it together, but a lot of them don't even have electricity, I think, but they were paying at the time, I think, $3 a day or something, or $1 a day, and the cost of the city was $3 a day. Next slide. Next slide. We can. So when you look at the definitions, we've got all of these different condominiums, accessory dwelling unit. We've got them, includes a studio apartment located over a garage or 1-bedroom cottage located in the backyard. Next slide. A duplex, triplex, fourplex. Next slide. Keep going. And keep going.
Mike,
Yeah.
are you gonna send this slide deck? Well, all your slide decks so far, are you gonna send them out to council, please?
I can post them on the website.
That'll
Yeah, I'll
work.
do that. I'll do that, Mayor.
Thank you.
So this is kind of Oregon's statewide housing plan, and Eco Northwest does a lot of studies for the state, assessed housing needs, disparities, came up with a statewide housing plan that deals with 6 priorities, which is a lot of the House bills that your Senate bills are coming out of the legislature are based on this statewide housing plan. And the 6 priorities that they identified were equity, racial justice, homelessness, permanent supportive housing, affordable rental housing, home ownership, and rural communities. So that was kind of the focus. These are kind of pages right out of the statewide housing plan. Next slide. Those are kind of the plan priorities that we just talked about. Next slide. It's all kind of housed in Oregon Housing Community Service, OHCS, which is a state agency. And they're divided into 7 divisions overseeing 12 sections and administer 35 different federal and state programs related to housing. So I did not, it is a extensive laundry list. But they're you know, they're there to provide resources for Oregonians to reduce poverty and increase access to stable housing. Next slide. Interesting, their website. So the this was the Oregon profile, and I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but I think it's median income in the 62,964.
Correct.
So it's medium income throughout Oregon. Next slide. Here you look at the Lincoln County profile and it's 51,000. So it's quite a bit less. You look at the Benton County profile, next slide, you look at the Benton County profile that I didn't include, and it's 73 or 74,000 median income. So the median income of all the residents of Lincoln County was 20-something thousand less than as compared to Benton County. And those similar, and that's a similar comparison between Lynn and Benton. And I not sure why, but maybe it's the high-tech jobs in Corvallis, the university. So when we talk about basic definitions, you talk about there's definitions throughout statute that, depending on who drafted the ORS provision at that particular time in House bill, that's the definition they used. So a lot of times you see, 60%, 80% below median income. Their incomes don't exceed 80% of the area's median income, or 60% of the area. We went on to define very low income and extremely low income. And it's kind of the annual income minus the deductions is the adjusted income. And what's interesting is in HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, the federal agency that provides vouchers for lower income people, there's a lag in, there's a couple-year lag between the data collected and when it's reported.
I was wondering about that because I've been reading that financial experts are saying now $130,000 is the bare minimum to call yourself middle class.
Yep.
So anything beneath $130,000 a year, you're living in poverty.
Well, you're living below median, you're living below middle income.
Right, so moderate income being as low as we have it there is like half of what I'm reading, so, yeah.
So here's one of the other issues, and I spoke with the Oregon head of United States Rural and how's that? USRDA, Rural Development Oregon. Anyway, one of the issues that I have with how these things are set up is that they don't take into account the local cost of living. So one of the problems that we have continually run into is that we apparently don't qualify for a lot of HUD and USRDA things because our quote median income is too high. Well, yeah, if you compare us to a city in Georgia, we make good money, but for a city on the Oregon coast where everything's through the roof, we don't make that good of money. And so one of the things that Director Hoffman and I discussed was quite simply trying to get more of a, for lack of a better, real numbers on the ground. because things have radically changed in the last 4 years, if anyone hasn't noticed. So for example, when you talk about housing, the only type of housing that Lincoln County is even with Benton County or Lane County or Polk County or Marion County or Tillamook County is 1-bedroom apartments. When it comes to price, that's the only point of housing that we are on par with them. Everything else, we are higher, and in some cases, multiples of higher. And so there's got to be some adjustments made to how this works. That's why I wanted to have this discussion, because I think for a lot of us, we grew up in where housing prices didn't do what they're doing now. They didn't jump on steroids like they've been doing, which, for lack of a better word, puts all of our kids, you know, out of the market, to put it bluntly, because to be able to go, and unless they get into a trade, they're going to have too much debt to be able to afford a house. It's just that simple. Because the house is going to be as much as that college was. So there's got to be a different way to run these numbers. Thank you, Mike, for all this work so far.
Next slide, Lisa. Thank you, Mayor. So this was kind of the crux that we wanted to get to. Workforce housing and affordable housing are different. You know, some of the definitions are not consistent, but you know, true affordable housing is, you know, and I got this from a website, is such that residents use government subsidies to stay and stay sheltered. I mean, really, true affordable housing is like you see with Northwest Coastal Housing, where they're developing housing using state and federal funds to alleviate not being able to afford a house.
To be able to bring the price point down that will match what people earn around here.
Yeah, and HUD is a program that kind of does the same thing with affordable housing. You know, but it's at or below 60% of the median income. The workforce housing is anywhere from 61% to upper figures is what they figure. Workforce housing is not you know, it's kind of middle income housing. You're not
Is that national definitions?
It's not a national definition that it's in the US code, but it is from a
So as I say, I thought
website.
Oregon identified workforce housing as 80 to
120.
Yeah.
Well, and they probably do, and they're not consistent throughout. Next slide. That's probably a good point. They probably do define it 80 to 120.
So at least per the HUD housing, that Northwest Coastal Housing's working with, and that the state of Oregon is working with, is that affordable housing is defined as essentially 60 to 80% AMI, with workforce housing being 80 to 120 AMI.
And I think that's consistent with their financing recorded documents that I've looked at for other developments, Mayor. That's kind of consistent with what we're requiring in the 99-year long-term lease for Lala Meadows. And I did talk to an attorney today that works in Lewis and Clark in their business assistance clinic, and sent him a copy of the 99-year lease in a Word format, and I just need to add the requirements of the House bill into that lease and run it by Business Oregon. But here's kind of the overview of the different types of housing. And the idea of accessory dwelling units, essentially creating a detached second home, I think would solve a lot, but I think there's a lot of people that just can't afford it.
Well, in our topography,
It's hard to,
it's as expensive as building a new place.
yeah, because you have to get the engineering because of the slope.
Yep.
So, but some communities that have done the transitional housing, it's some of it, so at times there have been issues. I'm on the school board for Sweet Home, and the high school woodshop class built, almost little hut-like tiny houses, and the city has a whole bunch of them kind of in an industrial, quasi-industrial area over by the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
And has brought in a mobile home to, that has multiple restroom facilities in it and kitchen facilities. And, when you look at what Eugene did years ago, and I know that they've since done another one, if not two other similar transitional housing units, but they, they basically set up a nonprofit corporation separate from the city, but made the, person by position a member of the nonprofit. And then created rules that, basically said, you guys are self-governing, no alcohol, no drugs, no fighting. And there was power for the people in the transitional housing to kick other people out that weren't following the rules. But next slide. There's another slide. So, for me, and Doug and Amanda, we just keep, mostly for me, continue to research bills to make changes consistent with new state law to incentivize construction of housing. The ordinance that we talked about on SDCs, I think what I would recommend is to the extent that it survives, it comes back in small pieces. And like one of those pieces would be the ability to waive or forgive SDCs for a nonprofit that does housing. That does housing full time. The other thing you have to consider is, and I think we're able to do that because of the state law that passed the bill, which I can't think of the number right now, but really SDCs are by statute not a land use decision. And the intent is that whether you're talking about water, sewer, parks, stormwater, those different SDCs can only be used. It's a water SDC charge. It can only be used for water.
Right.
You can't cross pollinate. You can't take money from sewer and use it in water.
Mhm.
And the intent is that everybody, and it's just new development. It's not, if you bought a house that's already paid its SDCs, you don't have any, you're gonna remodel it. You don't have to pay anything new. But those SDC fees are there to support the entire system. The entire sewer system, the entire water system as new construction is needed. And the legislature in passing that bill basically said that affordable housing doesn't have to pay its fair share. I mean, it gave it a pass as a policy,
Right.
as a policy decision. Sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
I was just gonna say on your fourth bullet point, the legislature, it didn't pass this in the short session, but they're seriously looking at it for this next session, for the long session, of creating a fund at the state level for, it was, and I think the hang up was over who would it apply to, but they want to make it for the smaller communities, namely those I want to say were 20,000 and less, that would allow them to, they would essentially get their SDC from the state, and then the developer, once they got their certificate of occupancy, would then pay the state back into the fund that the state created. And it would mean that cities don't have to wait 2 to 3 to 4 years to get those SDCs. And it would allow developers to push waiting on paying. In some cases, that becomes hundreds of thousands of dollars that they would normally have to eat the interest and such on until they actually have the building occupied and generating rent. I think there are a lot of people at the state are starting to understand that the rules they've saddled cities with are not always, shall we say, fiscally in the city's best interest. And so there is movement on it. I think one of the things that we have to look at throughout all of this is how do we make it work for Toledo? One of the things I think Mike and Justin have done a really good job in this presentation is showing that we have a lot more flexibility than we did back at the turn of the century when I was first on council and on the planning commission. It was very rigid on what we could and could not do within the city. The housing crisis that the state has gone through has finally, for lack of a better word, opened the eyes to not just the legislature, but state agencies that not all cities are created equal. And one of my points I've made over and over again to both institutions, the legislature and the agencies, is that we only have two types of places to build in Toledo: side of a hill and a wetland. Both require different types of constraints. They have their own challenges. Not everybody lives in the flat Willamette Valley. And I think that going through this, it's going to be a slog, but I think it'll be much better for us when we come out the other side. Mike, you've done a great job with these slides, putting stuff together. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping that we understand a little bit more of what we're dealing with. This next steps section, I really think that we do need to establish a committee to come together and take a hard look at our town. What fits, what doesn't fit. One of the issues that I learned all too well about this last week at my conference, which is the same thing I hear every year, is that what works in one town doesn't work in another. And
I'm gonna be on that committee.
well, and so would I, and I'm hoping that we can get at least one more person that's willing to jump in and roll up their sleeves and go on this, because this is going to take some work.
Can I ask a question? And I don't want to get us off topic. It's kind of,
No, ask.
and I want to keep moving down the line because I know we have people waiting for us to do other stuff, but, who owns the river? Is it federal? Is it state? Like, do they own the slough too? Like all of the sloughs we have?
Okay, so that is a complicated question.
Okay.
Very complicated.
We can meet about it later, but.
Okay, yeah, that's a complicated question because it depends on the width of the slough. It depends on who owns what sides of the slough. It depends on how much is in the median waterway.
Median
yeah.
waterway, at low tide.
I will just put this out there, and I've said this before, and I don't know how many people have heard me, and I know everybody probably thinks I'm bananas. But Toledo needs a gimmick. We need something that sets us apart from everywhere else. And I think we have so much water doing floating homes or houseboats would be adorable here. It would be so fantastic.
Okay, we got to get the port past the sewer thing.
Yeah.
That's what Debbie keeps telling me.
So before we do this little committee thing, can we do that after we do a trip around town so we can
Yes.
actually learn the different areas?
Yes.
'Cause I think
Yes.
I
So-
wouldn't mind going on the committee, but I don't want to sign up for the committee until I can learn more about our town here, because I haven't traveled all the side streets and stuff
That's
like.
great. Hey, so then let's do this, okay? Let's, for lack of a better word, shelve the committee for the moment, bring it back once we've all taken the tour.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
But in the meantime, get out, take a look at vacancies, take a look at what works in town, what doesn't work in town. Believe it or not, there are a lot of creative people out there, and I think we can find creative solutions to the fact that we don't have flat land everywhere, that we don't have, shall we say, a huge transient lodging tax to throw money around with. But I think we can solve a lot of these issues, because one thing that I've learned in my almost 30 years here is that we can get really dang creative when we want to. And so,
Our lodging could be a treehouse lodging, and then we don't have to worry about the slope. I mean.
oh God, I'm not going down that OSHA path. Not going anywhere near that one.
Creative solutions.
Railroad cars
That would be
and put them
fun.
on siding.
I know.
Oh yeah, and just wait till one of them gets bumped in the middle of the night. Thanks, Stu.
It happens. I maybe slept in one, so I slept in a couple.
All right.
Anyway, moving on.
Anything else on this topic at this time, council? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to our selection of League of Oregon Cities 2025-2026 legislative priorities. Lisa?
Mayor, so, I sent you a survey last week based on Doug's email for the legislative priorities. And so we received, 5 responses, and I was looking at them today. I'm sharing it on the screen right now. So we do have, 3s and 4s, and there's 5 of them. So there's the shelter and homeless response, the full funding. Mark this a little bit, there we go. The full funding and alignment for housing production. Restoration of recreational immunity. Investment in community resiliency and climate planning resources. Address energy affordability challenges from rising utility costs and lodging tax flexibility. Those were the top 5. Everything else pretty much had 1s.
Okay.
Oh, there's this one too.
There we go.
Infrastructure, yeah.
Well, that's the same as up in number 1. It's on both sections.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's on section 1 and section 5. See, very
Okay.
top line. Yep.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. So those were the top 5 priorities. So if council's okay with that. I don't recall. Doug, did we need to prioritize those in any way or just the top 5?
Yeah, it's the top 5, but, we probably do need to decide at least probably our top 3. I'll submit 5, but
Okay.
They
Right.
really focus on the
We
kind of the
submit,
ranking.
so we submit 5, but we can also say what are, in what order they were for us. So can you scroll back down to the bottom real quick? Because we actually do have everyone here tonight.
Actually, Tracy did leave the meeting at 6:50.
Okay. Well, darn. Well, Stu,
Yes.
did you get a chance to take a look at this at all?
Yes, I did. I filled mine out. I think the top 5 should just go in.
Can you scroll back down? Because okay, that's what happened. She cut you off, Stu, and she was scrolling on my screen.
Rude. Well, that's rude.
I'm telling you. All right. So, council, do you like our 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, then let's send that in. I hate to tell you all this, but this is the easiest this thing's ever gone. Good job, Lisa.
Yeah.
Hate to say.
Yeah.
It took me longer to get to the form than to fill it out.
I stared at it stupidly and gave up.
No, you just stared at it. You didn't do anything with that last word.
Yeah, I just ran.
All right, so by consensus, do we have consensus to send those in?
Yes. Yes.
All right. There you go, Doug.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, proposed amendments to city charter to submit to voters in the 2024 general election. Lisa?
Mayor, council, this topic of discussion was just brought back for the council's request. It was presented at the last meeting. I didn't change the council report much. I just added a little bit of an update. And it's just mostly for public information to have it out there. Mike and I did start talking about a resolution with ballot title and such, which will be brought back to the next meeting. One point I do want to make, which I didn't go over in the last meeting, and the mayor and councilors Byrne and Sylvia can correct me if I'm wrong, but on page 6 of the packet, or 3.4, mayor. So at one time during the charter committee meeting, I brought up the topic of discussion for the mayor signing resolutions, ordinances, and then we included records for city council decisions. The way our current charter, and I forgot to include this, so my apologies. And the way the current charter reads is that the mayor will sign all documents on authority of the city. But I had mentioned during the city charter committee was that generally city managers sign contracts or agreements for the council, and I wanted to include that in here. And it's not under the city manager, so I want to make that note, but I would appreciate if either by consensus or a motion, if the council approves that. And then Mike and I will make that wording for the next meeting.
Yeah, you're right. We
Yeah.
did talk about that and we agreed on that one there.
Yeah, because I think the only contracts I've ever had to sign were ones like with the state. And
Okay.
I'm like a co-signer with the city manager.
Okay,
Did you need to put in there in the event the mayor isn't present, the city or the
No,
council
because
president, or is
it's
it just
stated in there that if
understood?
I'm not around, you're it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay, I figured it was understood, but just checking.
and typically if the mayor isn't here and the council president is acting as presiding officer, if there were a resolution or ordinance, I would bring it before the council president to sign. Just because they were there and the mayor was not.
Right, right,
Exactly.
okay, perfect.
Okay. So since that was discussed, I'd go with a consensus if everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
good.
Yes,
Thank you.
Live long and prosper.
okay. Any other
That's-
comments?
The only comment that I would make is when we present this to the voters, the main thing, a topic that I could see that was going to be discussed was the per diems or something for the counselors. The other thing that is in there that I see that is very striking and is changing is the numbering of the seats and the way we vote. And I think that the voter should be appraised that that is what's changing too.
Right.
And those were the two biggest
The
changes.
two biggest things. So
And I think.
when they're reading on, when they're not gonna read this whole thing, but
Yeah, I mean, those are the two
if we're gonna
things.
have bullet points out there that major changes, to me, that was one of the other major
Yeah.
changes.
And I think Lisa can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, aren't you putting up both on the city website so they can
Yes.
kind of go back and forth if they wanted to see what's changing and whatnot?
Yes,
But
and
no, I agree on those 2 points are the major, the real big
majors,
ones that we
yes.
did in this.
And I
Right.
did come across another city that had similar information about the changes that they were making to their city charter, and I actually like the format, so. I think I'm just gonna borrow.
There you go. Don't reinvent the wheel.
You're good at that.
Exactly. That's all I had for this, Mayor. Thank
Okay.
you.
Stu, you're absolutely right. Those are the major changes. Everything else was essentially just rewrites so that everybody could understand it better. And it made it a lot clearer for people. And you're right. We're gonna have to, I mean, if we're gonna have to really talk about that. And going to need all the informational help we can get to get it out to people. I'm hoping that now National Night Out is that the 5th?
Six.
6th. Okay. I'm hoping that we can have a short 1-page flyer if we can to hand out that night.
So noted.
Okay. To start getting people at least asking about, well, what the heck is this, right? So we can start talking and so that doesn't just come out of the blue to people.
Maybe print it on different color paper than white, so that it stands out.
Wow.
I will make it stand out.
Blue.
Oh yeah. Uh-oh. You just threw the gauntlet down now, Kim. Yeah.
I will be at National Night Out volunteering at the booth as well, talking about this.
All right. Okay. Any other questions or comments about that? All right. Decision items. Permit application to consume alcohol in public places from Granite and Light LLC. Lisa?
Mayor, Council, in your packet is a temporary sales license permit application for Granite and Light, also known as Holy Toledo Journal of Lost Time van life event. They've been here the last couple of years and they started coming about 2 years ago. And the event is kind of a private event, but they do invite the public to attend. And the representatives, Josiah and Selena, are here. They can answer any questions. At the time when I wrote the council packet, I did not have the city's application, but they have since turned that in, so we do have that. And Chief Pace did do his background. I don't know if you have any, no issues.
So I have a couple of things of note on the OLCC permit. One, I'm assuming that on page 1 of the 2-page application that it should have been marked any part of the special event license premises outdoors. Yes. And secondly, do you have insurance and a policy number?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I kind of assumed you did, just, pointing it out, it's not on there.
Yes.
Yeah, I did receive the certificate of insurance earlier this week.
Okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure OLCC will ask that same question.
Yeah, they do every time.
Okay.
I
And
would
we are
like
the
to take
county.
a-
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I could take a second to address the council.
Yep.
Firstly, I want to say thank you for your hospitality the last 2 years in Toledo. Granite and Light is actually, we have 6 of these events around the country, but it's part of a bigger organization that works primarily with tourism organizations, which is how I discovered Toledo in the first place, doing work for Aqua and Travel Oregon. So we've been all over the state and in towns. And one of the things that we've seen from Arizona to British Columbia is a housing crisis that exists everywhere. So the fact that you're taking affordable housing and workforce housing seriously as a town council is something that is at the very core of why this event is even in Toledo. Because when I came here in my van 2 years ago, you didn't care that I parked down by the waterfront and were incredibly friendly. And I said, I want to bring in, that's here. I mean, it was 100% the reasons. I walked into the back of Timbers, met Charlie, had a good laugh, and I was like, I'm gonna throw an event here and bring some dollars to the community. And obviously, there's only a couple of businesses, and it's interesting to hear how the sausage gets made or see how it gets made. But we love the town. It's beautiful. We think it's gorgeous. It's one of our favorite, most tranquil events. And there is a lot of socioeconomic diversity at our event. We have people in billion-dollar vehicles and people who are part-time. There are people that are like myself with my van and a mechanic in Salt Lake City. So I borrowed one from a van builder that I Portland and drove down. So you'll see every single kind, but it is absolutely open to the public. But we do take the liquor and alcohol component very seriously. We check IDs for all ticketed people. They get bracelets. We have even less beer this year than we did last year. Last year, the Gal Hot's Brewing donated a bunch, et cetera. This year, we just have some for Row. We're doing a little thing for the Rotary to raise some money for the Veterans Wall, which we're really excited about. We're not a really heavy drinking event, but there will be some live music Friday, Saturday night. We've got opening night karaoke, which we would love for everyone to come on Thursday night. And really, we just love it. And also,
Stu got excited about karaoke.
yeah, we want it. We also would like, Jackie, we need an MC. We lost
Yeah.
Chris, so we
Yeah.
want you to come do that.
Come down.
But also another thing that's really valuable to us is the more we can be integrated with the community, the better. Historians, ecologists, biologists, and the rest. We love that stuff. As our events have grown and gotten more and more integrated in other towns, we have more and more of that. So that is a wide open invitation. I would take a ride around to see all the spots in Toledo and the different kinds of housing you have here. It's just such a beautiful part of the world. Also really, that housing crisis is a very real thing. You put affordable housing in a town like Toledo and people will move here, period. They can't afford to live in Newport. They can't afford to live in Florence. They can't afford to live in Lincoln City. But you put a house up for, you put one of the tiny home, which I built one on my parents' property, which is where I stay when I go there. So I felt all the pain of it's like I wasn't allowed to have indoor plumbing inside of it, but I have a shower that's outside, but it goes through a door from the inside. It's ridiculous. It's California. It is what it is. But it's strange everywhere. It's strange. So I'm just so glad that you're taking that issue seriously because I think it will be really good for the city from an economic development standpoint. And if you ever make an ordinance for something like $20 to have free overnight parking for a month in your town, use the bathrooms at the marina, get showers somewhere. There's not a fan lifer that wouldn't love to roll into time here for a couple weeks. There's a little town called Lander, Wyoming, which is a really good model for that. They made all their city parks free
Oh, wow.
to van lifers and campers. But if you want to stay on any of the internal streets, you buy a pass. So if you want to be closer to the coffee shops and stuff. But anyway, there's some cool stuff you could do. There's something like 2 million people now living more than 6 months a year out of their vehicles. And they're not necessarily homeless, even though I in no way am meant to or looking to denigrate that population at all. But I can't afford a $3 million home and I have a company with multiple employees. It's just not feasible for me.
Well, around here, we call those, what's that word we're looking for? Oh, gosh. Snowbirds.
Yeah. I like that.
Well, I have to tell you, your group amazes me. Last year, I put on one of my just plain hoodies, stuffed my beard down inside the hoodie and pulled the hood up. And the camaraderie and just the overall vibe I got out of your people, whether they were in one of those $1 million vans or in the one that you knew the guys worked on in his garage for, to keep it running type stuff, was amazing to me. To me, it's kind of it was a microcosm of the America I grew up in. And that's, you guys are great. And I hope you can keep this going and spreading the how do you say that? Spread the love?
Yeah.
I love that you
Because-
guys keep coming back. It's awesome.
Toledo's a great town. I love it. Makes me happy every time I roll in. I'm about to go have a drink at Charlotte or at Timbers.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Well,
But,
we're
yeah,
glad
so
you're here.
We open officially tomorrow at 3 PM. That's when we'll start letting folks in, but the public is free. If you're from Toledo, just come on down, have a great time. If you look at the schedule, there's nonsense all day long. If you wanna create more nonsense, we're all for it. Especially if there's like artists or artisans who wanna come and potentially sell their goods, we're all about that too. Yeah, just open invitation. I tried to post a bunch of stuff in the Facebook groups, but you know, some people see stuff, some people don't. I think there are some folks from Newport coming over tomorrow, Wayne from the Chamber and some others, but you know, go Toledo.
Well, on tomorrow and Sunday, they're also offering the free boat.
Yes.
Yeah,
On the tip.
it's on our schedule.
Oh, and,
If
I
I
went
could,
last year on a sailboat for the first time ever, so.
if I could ask for some help on something, if there's ever a way to convince the men who work in the workshop to ever do a tour or a talk about what they're doing, that would be the
Over
greatest
at the
thing.
dry dock where they.
Yeah, where the wood shop, it's so fascinating. Every year I've gone in and kind of like tried to do it and they're like, we're in the middle of working, man.
Yeah.
Who are you, weirdo? But
Or.
Hey, Stu,
I've tried. I feel like it needs local support of like, these people aren't total oddballs. Yeah, 'cause I
Stu,
just want to learn. I want to hear the story. Yeah.
Yeah.
so Stu, that's right up your alley.
well, yeah, you wanna go to the port facility, right?
Well, it's
Or at the.
by the marina.
Going to Boatworks.
Yeah, where they're in there doing all the.
Talking about the guys
existing
working on the wood
woodworking.
boats, I think,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to get them to let you on those boats.
Oh, I would just want
Once
them.
they're on, you can maybe never get
Oh,
on.
I'd like to do a scheduled.
Depends, yeah.
I would just like to do a scheduled time
Yeah.
where 20 people could walk down there and they would just tell us what they're doing. Like what the techniques are, like.
I'll tell you, Juno is really cool too. I don't know how much you know about Juno, but it's a revolutionary new way of sorting garbage and reclaiming.
Oh,
80% of the garbage is being reclaimed. It was done it's right across the water. It says Juno on it.
yeah.
And I think up to 80% of our trash is being recycled now through Juno, and it's one of the first in the world.
Do you think somebody from there would be interested in coming over and doing a chat? We could do it for next
Mayor, do
year.
you know somebody you can, I know you're.
Yeah,
sick.
I can
It's
get a hold of
PR.
Andrea
Yeah.
and set something up for next year.
Yeah, we have you'll see it over there. It's a white trailer. It's a fully enclosed mobile stage, speakers,
Uh-huh.
do some lasers and all that fun stuff. But so we have a space for somebody to come to talks like that.
It's amazing. I went and toured it and it's,
Cool. Yeah, it'd be really fascinating.
yeah.
So I just
Well-
have a little suggestion, only because we just had a little snafu with our last event here. Next year, when you guys go to do this, because I know you'll be coming back next year, maybe turn in applications a little earlier, so not getting at the last minute. And the reason I'm saying this, the Toledo Fest didn't turn in their application for open drinking until we talked about it 3 days beforehand.
Oh, really?
So that's cutting it really close. So if there's an issue, I don't want you guys to get messed up with your applications.
Yeah.
So just a suggestion, maybe get it in a little earlier.
Yeah.
That way there's no problems.
Cool. We'll do that.
Thank you.
So, Chief Pace, are you in the audience?
Yes,
Recommendation?
good to go. Good to go.
Okay. Well, council, you know what this means.
I make a motion to approve.
There we go.
Application for Granite and Life LLC for July 25th to July 29th.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Kim, seconded by Jackie Jackie Kaufman, sorry. Good gravy, too many Jackies. To approve the permit application for Granite and Light LLC for July 25th to July 29th. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Go forth and conquer.
Toledo.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know that there was a bar that was called Ole Toledo, but. Did you hear about it?
We love you so much, Jackie.
Seriously, you come down and MC, we need an MC.
Oh,
My holy sweatshirt.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome, that'd be awesome.
yeah, we would love it.
Well, we hope to see you all at the event. We're gonna go, rally the team. We have volunteers showing up.
Yes.
To make sure doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Very cool. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you this weekend.
My number.
You're an incredible researcher and your reports are badass.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate it. Unbelievable. Appreciate you coming to the community.
Hey, you can't hire him away.
Really good at sucking up.
All right, next item. Permit application to consume alcohol in public places for the Timbers Restaurant.
Councilor Brush, near him.
Can we just take a motion? We know what this one's all about.
Yep, you can.
All right, I make a motion to approve permit application request from Kylie Cipher for August 3rd and 4th.
I'll let her have it. I was gonna say, give it to Jackie, whatever. I'm not gonna fight about it.
So which Jackie?
No, this was Kim got it.
Oh,
Jackie Burns?
sure.
Kim got it.
Oh, they're giving it to me.
It was Jackie.
Oh my God, you guys.
It was.
You gotta
Jackie
remember.
Kaufman.
I'm looking at little tiny people across the wooden desk.
It was my loud mouth, but Kim got it.
All right, it's been moved by Frank, seconded by Council President Bush to
There you
approve
go.
the permit application request from Charlie Seifert for August 3rd and 4th. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right. Next item. Approve an expenditure to purchase a new patrol car. Chief Pace.
Yes, so back in 2024, 2025 budget committee meeting, I presented the CIP for a patrol car. And this is the request to purchase that said patrol car. The expected fiscal impact would be $83,000, which we do have in our vehicle replacement plan.
Any questions?
This is gonna be the same color as their other patrol cars or
It'll be purple this time.
purple? Stand out.
So
It'll be the same color, the same schema as the other patrol cars.
thank you, Chief. Chief, tonight's not the night. So Chief, I do have one question. Well, actually, it's more of a comment. Do you remember when we used to get these cars for $40,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Installed and everything, yeah. The price of the vehicles have gone up considerably due
Oh.
to thanks to the COVID brought to us.
Yeah, the car costs as much as the whole tractor.
So this covers everything, all the installs and the updates you were talking about to the rest of the fleet too?
No, so this covers the purchase of the vehicle, the install of all the gear that goes inside the vehicle, the mix of the patrol car, and then also the graphics that go along the patrol car, and also the interior camera system for the patrol car. We've gone away from WatchGuard, which is our previous vendor, to Axon, which is our vendor that we use for our tasers and our body cameras. So they'll all be able to integrate together. The cool thing about the fleet program, which is Axon's in-dash camera system, is that when you turn on your lights, your red blue lights, it activates your body camera and your car camera at the same time. And it activates everybody else's body camera. Anybody that's around you, when you turn on your lights, it'll turn it all on.
Really?
You don't have to worry about turning it on when you get out of the car.
I didn't know
Yep.
that one, that it
Yep.
did others.
That is awesome.
And then when you watch it, you can actually see it in multi-camera view, so it'll show which camera started first, and then you'll see the different angles of the cameras as you're watching the whole thing across the screen.
It's even better than I thought.
So,
Yeah, the only reason I knew about it is because when Ron got it in taser training, when you use the taser, your body cam comes on. So if you're in a fast, like
Right.
you don't have time to turn on your body cam,
Well, it should be
yeah,
automatic.
yeah.
yeah,
It shouldn't be by choice.
that's gonna happen where you're more focused on the threat in front of you other than turning the body camera. So when you pull your taser out and you activate that, it'll activate all of it. So
Jackie Kaufman,
Yes.
you need to tell the Portland Police Bureau and their union that they should have a camera on.
The
Just
other thing
saying.
that I was talking to Chief about was that he said that as soon as they pull into the police station, they no longer have to download all their dash cam stuff onto a flash drive. It automatically downloads into
That's
the
nice.
police station.
Yep.
Because
Just by pulling in the parking lot. Yep.
So you can label all your videos in a car, and then it'll upload it into our evidence, digital evidence, cloud, which is evidence.com. Evidence.com is, shared throughout the county. So the DA's office has it, Lincoln City has it, Newport has it, Lincoln County Sheriff's Office has it. So when we present our evidence to DA's office, so we just send it through evidence.com, and then we can share evidence to each one of the other departments. Say there's a suspect vehicle that Lincoln City's looking for, we found them, we pull them over, we can send that evidence directly over to them and through that cloud.
Oh, that's a beautiful
That's even
thing.
better.
Yeah.
Well, I would entertain a motion if we have don't have any other questions or comments.
I just a comment, as far as the purchase of the vehicle and such on there, it looks like, it's like the vehicle price was a little bit more than half the other equipment and such and put on there. So I'm guessing this is a very specialized piece of equipment and such.
Are you talking about the Durango?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
They actually have
all the
the
stuff
one
you're
on the
putting
lot
yeah.
still, so we can get it and get it hopefully into. Let's put they told them to not a lot. So.
$50 for a cup holder. Oh, sorry, that's not the cup holder. It's the mounting plate for the cup holder.
I know that there's a lot of charges and such on there, but, and
I
I'm
just
just
thought that was funny.
wondering, the equipment that was on the vehicle that was taken out of service is, I'm hoping that.
So the vehicles that are taken out of service are the old Chargers.
Yeah,
So they don't really
They don't
have.
fit.
they didn't have that much equipment on them. and
No,
such.
the only thing we could probably refurbish or salvage would be the radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, am I misspeaking? We've already pilfered some of the stuff off the one to go on the other. I thought so. But we're
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
We're not letting those go to waste.
Talking about the police here.
And, you know, in we,
Oh, yeah.
so a couple years back, we had an individual that went into our back lot and destroyed a couple of cars.
Mhm.
We had those sitting in the car dealership for the longest time. What I did, and I felt it was in the best interest of the city to do this, was that I had Wireworks donate that equipment that was in those cars to other agencies that couldn't afford it. So I thought that would be the spirit of what it was about.
let's go.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right, can we make a motion?
Anytime you're ready.
I make a motion to approve an expenditure of up to $83,000 for the purchase and setup of a new patrol vehicle and authorize the city manager to sign and execute documents related to the purchase.
I'll second that.
I just had one real quick question for clarification. Chief,
Go ahead.
is that in the budget?
Yeah,
Yeah, he said it was.
yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
budget.
I just wanted to.
Yeah, he was
Sure.
the 24-25 order was.
But
Yes.
yeah,
I knew it was, but.
All right. It's been moved by Kim, seconded by Frank to approve an expenditure of up to $83,000 for the purchase and setup of a new patrol vehicle and authorize the city manager to sign and execute documents related to the purchase. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.
I still want to see purple tie-dye.
No.
Got me kind of excited. Cool.
I saw a cop car somewhere that
Hey,
was painted with
the only tie-dye we do is blue and yellow around here.
all over it.
hey, Ron's car got a lot of attention being white, so you know, I figured.
He really has.
Color of vehicle would be nice too.
Mhm.
That's how my son picks out the art lady's husband.
I haven't told him that. I forgot. I need to. I thought about it when he's not there and I'm like, I've got to tell him.
She needs a baseball cap.
He's not Officer Bush. He's just the art lady's husband.
My kid, yeah.
Okay, moving on to our next item. Approve amendments to the lease and sublease with Yaquina LLC and the Yaquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society. Mr. Mike Adams.
Mayor, Council, we're asking you to approve amendment number 1 to the lease and amendment number 1 to the sublease. And authorize Mayor Cross to sign and execute both documents. This is, you have before you the lease as the first attachment. Rather than rewrite the lease, the second attachment is the amendment to the lease, which to kind of clarify what's going on here. The agreement, the lease and the sublease were for this last iteration were for 5 years that ended at the end of the year. The rent's $1 per year. The Yaquina LLC is an LLC owned by the Boyer family. Yaquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society is the subleasee. So we as the city are leasing the portion of the property that the post office is not using. If you're aware where the post office is, we're leasing the remaining portion of that property and subleasing it to the Yaquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society. And the sublease makes the Yaquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society the terms of the lease, they're subject to the terms of the lease and the sublease. What it really does is there is a way for a nonprofit to not pay property taxes, but I believe it is a yearly annual paperwork that's done where the Boyer family has been nice enough to, when I look back in the city's documents, I found something that I believe this agreement dates back to 2000.
It does.
But, and possibly before that, it expired on January 1st. I think I got the email maybe it was the mid-January, mid-December, but did the documents, and it's just taken a lot of Lisa's here from the railroad, the executive director of the Railroad Historical Society. I did not, I did eventually talk to one of the members of the Boyer family. They've been real supportive. Part of this is they've kind of had some family members have to step in and deal with this. And there's been a couple different addresses involved in for certified mailings of the lease and the sublease to 2 different
Are they
addresses.
still here locally or are they, they're?
They're Monroe. Yeah. So really amendment number 1 to the master lease is just changing the term. You can see in 2A and B. Exhibit A, reference to paragraph 1 of the master lease. We're acknowledging that it can't be found. It's deleted and replaced in its entirety to read as follows. Taking some language from another document. And then there's a consent of the master lessor, which is Annette Tony Boyer signing on behalf of Yaquina LLC, and really everything else remains the same. The sublease, which is the agreement between us as the lessor and the Quinta Pacific Railroad. Is the fourth document, and really it's 2-page again, where we're changing the term and referencing the Exhibit A, which is kind of the legal description, which is found on this last page, the Exhibit A, which was referenced in 2019 when David did the prior lease, but I couldn't, there wasn't a copy of that in the attached to our lease that we had in our documents. So I just made clear to add it as well as this, and you can see the little notation that says area to be leased. So it has taken a lot of work on Lisa's part, and unless you have any questions for me or her.
I went over and talked to Lisa about something. And I'm sure the mayor can chime in with this. I don't know why we don't offer our museum a lease like we offer the pool and make it 99, so we guarantee we have something like this railroad museum always here in Toledo for people to see. And I know that right now for this lease, Lisa has said that she would love that, but not yet, because she's under the fire to get it done like yesterday. So for future, I don't see why we can't like try and keep our railroad museum here.
So I see your point. And I'm not sure.
So can I speak to that?
Yeah, you can speak to that, Mayor. Go ahead.
Okay, so back in 2000, when I'll be blunt, it was kind of codified finally then, before it was a lot of handshakes. By Yaquina LLC leasing it to us, that removes the property taxes from the situation. Okay, so that we can then turn around and lease it to them for $1 and nobody's paying property taxes on it. If Yaquina LLC directly leased it to the Railroad Historical Society, someone would have to be paying the property taxes in there. Okay, so we are the leasee of the land, and we are subleasing it to Yaquina Pacific. So for your plan to work, Frank, we would have to get Yaquina LLC to agree to it. And I think that's a noble cause, but it's not something we can do quickly, as you noted.
Right, I could either purchase the portion, the whole thing, or maybe even move the entire railroad to city-owned property.
Right, I think it's perfect where it is. So I'd like to find a way to keep it there.
Jackie?
How long is the lease?
5 years.
5 years.
Us and Yaquina.
5 years.
The Yaquina, not that, why keep it?
Yeah, both of these amendments.
Well, we can't do a 99-year sublease if we're only getting a 5-year lease.
Right. That's why we would have to convince Yaquina LLC to do a 99-year lease.
Right.
And
That's
then
why
we
we
would do
have
the
it.
sublease. Right.
Right. That would be my hope. That way we
Yes,
can
that's
keep
why we have
something
it.
here in Toledo for people for many generations to continue to see.
I agree.
That was my only.
I
Well, that's
agree.
okay. Up until
We can't
2000,
if
it was all
they
yes, sir,
don't.
no, sir, and we're all
Yeah.
okay.
It doesn't do us any good to want.
No.
We can't if they
Right.
don't.
So
Yeah.
for the next 5 years, we can plan to try to do that.
Trying
Yeah, I
to,
could even start the conversation with the Boyers, about it, see how they're get kind of a temperature gauge on it. And the many times I've had to visit them at their home, we've become kind of. So, just something though with, the property taxes is that with each new lease, I believe it's with each new lease, I have to submit a property tax exemption application
Yep.
with the county. And
Right.
so I believe it's a lease So I only have to do it once every 5 years. I don't think it's a yearly thing.
I think that's right, but.
I need to double check,
Was
so.
my reference to every year was there is a mechanism in state law where nonprofit corporations that are 501(c)(3)s can be tax exempt from property
Yeah.
taxes. But it is a yearly application. You miss the short window, you're SOL.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the reasons that I need to get this done. Luckily, the county assessor CJ Hurt has been really understanding and patient and is letting me utilize this loophole in the system, which is essentially I submitted an incomplete application. So it's not late, but it's just incomplete. And so I'm not gonna get any late fees, but that loophole is rapidly closing. In fact, he called me 2 or 3 days ago or something and was kind of like, what's going on? And so.
Well played, Lisa.
Yeah, so, and I know, and now the Boyers are, because I need to submit that for them. I mean, I know Mike just explained the whole thing, but I still don't really understand. I'm not a real estate legalese person, so I still don't really 100% understand why it's structured this way. But it's been working.
Doing what you have to do.
Exactly. And so I just want to keep all parties happy. And the Boyers are, they actually came down to Toledo today and looked at the museum, and they were also looking at the post office for any building repairs and whatnot. And they expressed nothing but this is an awesome place. We're really stoked on what everybody's doing for this, because I don't know what else they would use that space for. And I can't really do anything else with it. So I really think that they would be open to increasing the length of it. But at this point, I need to get
Need to get it done.
Yes. It's been a never ending nightmare. So I'm really ready to be done with it.
Yes, Jackie.
Can we get the bells turned back on the quarter machine at the Railroad Museum?
The what?
The bells on the ting.
So the recording is still there.
The bells don't go in.
It's the wigwag target. We had to take it down because the metal was chunking off. It is very close to being done, and I was hoping to get it back up and reinstalled before the wooden boat show.
We took that down.
I know, it took it down a really long time ago. But I mean, I'm sure all of you are aware, it's basically me down there, and I'm doing everything from writing grants to giving tours to I scrub the toilet. So, and I'm not an electrician. I don't have the scaffolding, and but we did have somebody kind of come in and bird dog the project. So I hope we will get it up before Wooden Boat Show.
Worked already?
What was that?
Has it already been remade?
Yes, yes, it was actually, the metal was Atlas Fabrication. They were really quick on it. And then unfortunately, we've just had so many different projects and we just don't have enough hands.
Another work day down there.
I was trying to, I'm hoping to do one, maybe in August or maybe in September, because we got a travel Oregon grant for $35,500. We're replacing our main access ramp to the museum, because right now it's wooden planks and they're rotting through. It's very unsafe. So we're replacing it with aluminum grating. We're gonna make the slope ADA, meet those requirements. We're then also going to level out the existing paved pathways and extend the pathways up to the quarter machine. So if you're in a wheelchair, you will be able to easily access it and utilize it, and to another little interactive sign. And so the project is set to begin, I believe, sometime in September. We're utilizing Joel Stevenson, who just did the Arcadia bathroom. So he came very highly rated by Brian, and we're really excited to get it done. We got materials purchased. They should be getting delivered here soon. And so, there's lots going on. And I've already spoken to the Boyers too about the site improvements. They're all for it. So, but yeah. Again, this has been on my plate since the beginning of the year. It's keeping me up at night. It's stressing me out. I want to be done with it. I really want to be done. And then, because I gotta, once we get it all finalized, I'll be sending it to the assessor and then hand delivering the signed completed copy to the Boyers in Monroe again. So.
Can we make a motion?
Please.
I move to approve amendment number 1 to the lease, amendment number 1 to the sublease, and authorize Mayor Cross to sign and execute both agreements.
Second.
It's been moved by Kim, seconded by Jackie Kaufman to approve amendment number 1 to the lease, amendment number 1 to the sublease, and to authorize Mayor Cross to sign and execute both agreements. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Okay.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Go forth and conquer.
So Mayor Cross, when will you be able to sign these documents?
Can I
If
sign
someone,
one?
if someone can meet me at the door in the morning, so if I call ahead, if someone can meet me at the door, I can sign them in the morning. I don't want to go into the building if it does turn out I have convoy.
I was saying
COVID.
I'll come in a hazmat suit if I need to. I mean, I'm at that level. I need to get this done.
Oh, no,
I have them, so-
so what time works for everybody here? That's the question.
Well, the question, I guess, is can Kim sign as the city council president?
I think because he's on the meeting.
I'm on the meeting and presiding,
Oh.
so I have to sign it.
Well, and the motion just authorized Mayor Cross.
Oh,
That's
right.
the motion.
So,
I mean, I told the assessor, I would be getting these documents by end of month, which I mean is very rapidly approaching, but,
how about tomorrow morning?
Mayor Cross, I'll be here at 7:30 tomorrow morning, so just
Okay,
text me when
so-
you get here and I have the paperwork.
You got it.
and
So
then
there
I
you
can-
go, Lisa.
and then
Lisa
I'll
and
come and
Lisa.
collect the documents from Lisa, get the signature from Alan, our president,
I will
and bring you back the
text me, I'll text you.
fun.
There
Excellent.
you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
I will. Thank you, sir.
All right, reports and comments. Is Chief Robeson in the building?
No.
How about Harrison? Brian? Chief Pace?
Yes.
Oh, hallelujah. I still have a major league batting average.
Yeah, I just want to report on our summer festival. We had 3 bites, a DUI. That was it.
Wow.
So very successful. There was no issues relating to the beer garden at all. They did a good job in complying with the council's wishes. So,
Was that DUI that white Mustang?
I'm not
The
quite sure.
blue one?
No, a white Mustang that decided she wanted to hit the gas and spun out
No,
of
that was
control.
not a DUI. That was a person that needs to be reevaluated.
Oh, no, when Counselor Adams said Mustang, I assumed he was talking about a blue one with a white stripe.
I don't have a white stripe, Mayor.
As far as traffic and everything else, I was amazed at the amount of cars that of here, and everybody got out of town safely.
Yeah, yeah.
And that-
We actually closed, they closed the park early, about a half an hour early on Friday. And then Saturday, it was nice. So, there was no issues, nothing, it was good to go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Anything else for Chief Pace?
No, he
All
wants to
right.
go buy a new car.
All right. Lisa, do you have anything?
Just a couple of small quick things. LOC annual conference registration open today. I got everybody signed up, registered and lodging. And then I will follow up with emails to everybody because I don't think,
I was gonna say, I didn't get an email. I checked.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll make sure I get information out to everybody soon.
Who else going at this point?
Counselor Sylvia, yourself, Mayor Cross.
I didn't get approved yet.
Okay. Doug, Amanda, myself, Larry.
What are the dates again? It's gonna be a party.
And Mike told me this afternoon, so he's not yet registered. He will be.
What are the dates?
The 17th and 18th.
Yeah. October 17th through the 19th.
19th, okay.
Yeah.
The 19th is basically a half day and it is.
Right.
So. And then just a reminder, Art Oysters and Brews, August 3rd and 4th.
National Night Out the sixth,
Sorry?
and then National Night Out's the sixth.
Yes, National Night Out is 6th. And then very lastly, on September 18th, which is a council meeting night. The city of Toledo will have some special guests in the community. And so the council may want to either consider delaying or canceling that meeting, but I don't know if you've heard of the Rip City Tours from the Portland Trailblazers. Every year before basketball season starts, they do a tour of 3 or 4 cities. Toledo is the 3rd stop this year.
How did they come up with Toledo? I don't know, I love that, but
Well, they're doing different, they've done different areas and so generally they kind of do a semi takeover of the city. During the day, they'll go to the schools and do some like PE classes and some job career panels. And then in the evenings between 4 and 6, they'll have a full like 50 by 50 foot basketball court and competitions, and they bring in 10 tents and such. And so it's a community event. They promote health and wellness. The police department has agreed to grill that night. Oh, fun. And
What's
so
that date?
September 18th.
It'll be down at the roundabout there at the fort,
Yes.
down by Waterfront Park.
I think definitely skip council
Yeah.
that.
I think we're gonna have to cancel or move the
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'll be from 4 to 6, so.
Yeah.
But. So, and I can keep the council apprised of what kind of discussion items we have until, for that date. Currently, we don't have anything.
Okay.
That's all I have.
I
So
will also,
Lisa,
I was gonna just throw out, Mayor, real quick, that they did donate to AOB for some fundraising raffle stuff. for
Wow,
them
that was nice.
in appreciation of being able to get set up down here.
so
Okay.
Lisa, did you have a question for Counselor Strom or?
I did. Oh, you're talking about that one. I was gonna ask him after the meeting. It was just. Counselor
Okay,
Strong,
okay.
I don't know if TAG can provide some security at our Oysters and Brews, and we can talk about that offline after the meeting.
Okay. I'll
We'll talk about
talk to him, I guess, yeah.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Stu, I know you're one of the hoo-haws down there, so.
Rabble rouser is the term.
Okay, Stu, I was trying to be polite. I wasn't trying to, to make any remarks that could be taken wrong.
Rabble rouser.
We heard about you guys.
All right, Amanda?
We're deep in the middle of fiscal year end and preparing for an audit. But one more fun item to report. This week, we had our first overview sessions with some of our project manager and a couple of the subject matter experts for new modules. And we are officially in our test company for our new system. And we've been, just our finance department right now has access to it. And so we're working in both systems, trying to vet out all of our processes before we officially convert in September. And they gave us instructions to go crazy. We're trying to do everything we do currently, all of our tasks, all of our jobs. They said, try and break it. So that's our goal. We're working hard. We're kind of duplicating everything we do and trying to work through everything to make sure it's working properly because we're
going well.
So far, so good. We just got in on Tuesday, so we're already getting in and playing and running things, and it's looking very good so far.
So let me see if I understand this correctly. Cindy was given permission to break it.
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
I know,
well,
that's dangerous. Challenge, yeah, try and break it.
All sorts of things. Mhm.
So, yeah.
Any question for Amanda? All right, Mike?
Mayor, council, the four pressing things that I have on my plate are to update the Olala 99-year lease with the House bill requirements. Doug brought up and I think finance a short-term rental ordinance that has been mentioned, that should allow collection on some of those types of rentals that we're not tracking, that don't have business licenses. Just because we're going through the state tax movement. And Lincoln County Water Systems Alliance is the and the employment personnel policy are kind of the four main things that I have left. I know that was not 1, 2, 3, 4 real quick, but I'm kind of looking through the list and stuff that's been scribbled off, so. If you have any questions.
Any questions, council? All right, Doug, what do you got?
Only got a few things. First, GP is doing a tour for EMS on August 13th. And when I had the meeting with Andrea, she is inviting our council if they wish to come along. Bear in mind, this is mostly going to be an EMS presentation and talking more about some of the emergency things. But she said council's welcome to come. They'll be going through both the Juno and the GP plan. It'll be August 13th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And if you wish to go, please get a hold of Lisa by the end of this week, because we got to they want it RSVP. So they know how many, they'll be serving some food and stuff like that. So they want to make sure they have it. And additionally, if we have more than 4 or 3 go, we just need to make sure we advertise possible.
So it's so loud, we couldn't.
What time was it? From when to when?
From 11 to 1 on August 13th. And it'll be a full tour of Juno and GP.
So that's gonna take a few hours.
Yeah, but it's mainly, like I said, it's mainly gonna be geared towards EMS and first response. But you're more than welcome to come, and in fact, they would like some electeds there if they could come, so. Secondly, I'll be working with GP. Last year, we did a Olala Lake water contract with helping them fill, during a drought year. They've reached out, they want to get on it a little earlier this year, so they're interested in contracting raw water again. I'll probably be sitting down with Mike this next few weeks to try to get something to come before council in August to draw an agreement together with.
You know how much we made off of that last year?
45,000. 45,000.
And where did that money go?
Where did we
To the water fund.
It went into the water fund.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was because they had a 10 million gallon minimum on the contract, whether they used it or not. And they ended up only using maybe a few thousand gallons of just getting things going, and they ended up not using it.
Yeah.
But they paid
minimum.
Yeah, they paid the 45,000, and they want to do the same. They're interested in the same minimums and things
And
like
the
that.
prior contract didn't have a minimum that we created, and this last contract, I just kind of said, let's make a minimum.
And that's just the untreated
And we
water,
left it.
Fulton River.
That's totally untreated water, and part of it's water law, and their intake is real close to ours up there, but you can only, the point of diversion, you can only pull it out at the same spot. So the solution, and working with the engineer, is put a pipe in the reservoir up there, and in theory, the water makes it all the way down to here where GP has a right to pull it out of the slough.
Mhm.
And so some Portland attorneys looked at it once upon a time, it's good to go. That's just kind of what we've done. Because water law, their water rights gets turned off first. It's first in time, first in right. We're older water rights. So when they decide to curtail water use in the river, they shut off GPs before they shut off ours. And GP is an industrial customer, and so it's legal to.
Did you guys vote on that just when Andrea and them came and introduced themselves? The last time about buying the raw water?
Yes.
So, or a couple
Yes.
times ago.
Yes.
I thought.
So,
Before we got on council.
right,
That's
so,
me. Yeah.
Is it? just-
Yeah, I know last year I had suggested, since we're getting this money and it's like free, you know, it wasn't money we were counting on to sock it away, and maybe we could put it toward raising the dam on Mill
I
Creek.
think-
I remember that.
I think
Right.
because it's
So-
water, we need to keep it in water.
Yes.
And with some other things that are happening that we can discuss at a later time, it's probably gonna be good to keep it in water.
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
point.
It needs. Yeah.
And then lastly, I mean, if you guys go through City Hall, you'll see up there, we've kind of demoed some stuff out. We're preparing. We're gonna have to make space if we get a human resource position filled, creating an office, and there's probably gonna be some shuffling around here, putting people with who they work with and forward facing that work more with the public and getting them more access and those types of things. So I have kind of started that project. I still got to get through permitting and stuff like that. Right now, I've just been doing the measuring and getting things so I know what it's going to cost. So when I apply for permits, I know what I'm applying for, and things like that. But just gathering the evidence, but hopefully within the next month or so, depends on permitting, how fast we can get through. This is a really small permit. We're talking probably a $5,000 to $10,000 project tops, but it should go through pretty
Everything
quickly.
requires a permit, then.
Unfortunately, I don't believe we have there are some exceptions. I don't believe this one applies to the exception of the permits, but I'll reach out, and if it does, it does. If it doesn't, I mean, we pay the permit and move forward. But the permits are based off the price of what the estimates are. So I gotta get the estimates put together before I can get the permitting. That's where I'm at on that, but you'll see we took some stuff out and we're just getting prepped and measuring and getting costs of supplies and things like that put together. So that's
We
all I got.
We didn't budget for that, right?
It's budgeted, we didn't produce a CIP because it's under 10,000 or it's under 20,000.
Okay.
But basically, we do have money in the budget for City Hall. And it was budgeted last year for
Yeah.
specifically 25,000. We didn't do anything. I think we have money in that budget that I'll probably just work out of that budget and see where we're at. So
We didn't hire a designer or an architect or anybody.
we're pretty much just putting up walls and a door, and
That's it.
whoever moves in there will put their desks and things how they wish for it to be.
Okay.
General office, business office, yeah. No
Any
windows,
questions?
unfortunately.
Any questions for Doug? All right, I'll start council comments tonight with Counselor Kaufman.
I have a question about replacing the cord from my charging cord.
Okay,
And then
yep, I can talk to Justin and get you a new charging cord.
I could bring the other one in.
I would-
Wore out. Let's see, I tripped over it and it kind of stretched them.
I'll do it.
So it works sometimes, but not other times, so.
Probably best. to do it.
Yeah. it's-
Just duct tape and use the air water.
Put it on it.
A little bit, yeah.
Put some dirt on it.
It's that near water part, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Justin Sands.
Justin's got to get them over there and then get them set up. So we should have new ones.
These days,
Yeah, coming, but the cords are generally kind of, for those, they interchange, so we can get.
yeah,
So, all right,
thank you.
Stu?
That's it.
I'm pretty good. I think we just had a fabulous summer festival thing with a tremendous amount of visitors in town. I didn't get an official count of what they considered was the audience, but it was big. And got a lot of other events coming up, so I'm just tickled that it's a raw season here.
Summer's fun. Were you down there blowing stuff off?
No, I wasn't. I haven't done that for a few years.
I know, I can't believe it.
He was the bingo man.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's traded in the big booms for the little balls.
I would say Saturday, what we set a record on the amount of people and prizes that we handed out and such on
That's
there.
awesome.
So, yeah.
Cool.
So Frank,
I don't have much. I did that fentanyl thing, the fentanyl eradication march last week. Doug was there. Had a little problem with the propane. It didn't want to work.
Fixed.
So a lot of people there on the march. I think we need to get more involved with this because I've seen entirely too many forever age videos. Friends that have lost people, family that have lost people. I've lost a friend to the fentanyl.
May I add to that just real quick? We did have a meeting afterwards. We talked about the fentanyl parade. They decided the next one, I know we were looking at next week, but due to some conflicts and things like that, we're actually pushing it till, I want to say, the week of August for the final parade.
Okay.
Plus, they want to do better about getting the word out to see if we can get more people. We felt this second time that we didn't get a good enough word out for the people, so. Anyway.
Other than that, I've had a couple of people after I made the post about the street being paved on the East Junction asking about a light at Dairy Queen. Isn't that state road too?
yes, it is.
So
Yeah.
I can take that to this. I'm planning on going to CWAC about getting a light there at Dairy Queen because there's entirely too many accidents there too.
What kind of?
Which part, there is, some of that is city and.
Okay, so-
20 area,
Yeah.
that general, more, I guess, maybe at
So it's the
229.
intersection. It's the intersection of 20 and 229.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
That flashing light needs to be
Okay.
a different kind of light because there's
That'd be
just
state.
too many accidents.
Yeah.
And then Tyler Watkins messaged me about getting on the thing next week for the school.
Yep.
Or not next week, sorry, for the 17th.
Okay.
For the school. Because we don't have a meeting next week.
Right.
Other than that, I'm good.
Okay. Jackie Burns.
Got nothing, except I couldn't find the fentanyl thing.
March.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
Find it.
I'm looking forward to the tour. That's all I got.
Council President Bush.
I know Brian's not here, but do we have an update on the Ammon tank?
Let's see, we did the advertising, we're waiting on there's a response period. Once that clears, then we will start moving forward with hopefully getting all the money into place,
Okay.
so. And, we've done some preliminary talking with engineers, but until we have the money, we're not gonna start engineering.
So do we have any idea how long that'll be?
Well, they think we'll have money probably by the first of the year.
Okay,
So it just depends how much we want to float up front till we get paid back, which would be engineering. The idea was hoping to have everything in place and the money in place by January 1st. That's what they're shooting.
this is probably a really silly comment, because I know that we don't have like a big bank of light switches for our street lights in Toledo, but the night of the fireworks, it would be really cool if we could cut the street lights. Is there any possible way to do that?
That's a UD thing.
Wouldn't that be nice? Because I can see them perfectly from my driveway.
Isn't that Central Lincoln that
Yeah.
Runs all that.
It is, and there's not a good, there's not just a
Lights are
switch
so
where they get to
bright.
the
I was like, God, if we could just flip the switches, Dumbledore with his light.
They don't have-
You put the switch on the whole town.
Well, they could.
I mean,
A lot of those are direct wired right into the wire.
They're wired in and they would
Yeah.
literally have to come out to every light and like disconnect it to turn them off.
I figured that would be the answer, but I thought I'd throw it out there anyway. It's better
just put the whole city in dark.
throw trash bags
Yeah,
over
they,
the lights.
they can shut down a whole blue.
Yeah.
You'd have everybody with leather complaining.
Turn their light
Oh,
down.
gosh.
Yeah, it shuts down all.
Yeah, it would shut down power.
That's what I said. They can please shut off. at
That's all I have.
Let's not shut off the power to the city.
I don't want them to, I was just hoping for giant light switches somewhere, I don't.
I did
No.
notice fewer car alarms this year for fireworks.
Yes, I heard about that, or should say, didn't hear about
When I
that.
sit here, I heard it.
We always get some, but I didn't hear them. There's been some years that you couldn't even hear the crowd
Well-
over the car alarms.
Well, it kind of depends on who parks down at the port parking.
And they're learning to turn their car alarms off.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else, Kim?
Nope, that's it. How about you, sicko?
Okay, so, first I'm gonna address a couple of things. Stu, what I heard on Monday morning was unofficially 28K in town on Saturday night.
Wow.
That was the unofficial count I heard. And they were basing it off, what was it, 14 or 15 when we had 30K in town? And so that's what they were getting their estimate off of, was that knowing what it was like on those evenings. So, I hate to tell you this, folks, but we're back.
Yeah.
And let's see. Frank, remember the thing that Tyler wants to talk to us about is the Mat Club room.
Yes.
Right. So keep that in mind. Also, Frank, here's the other thing you have to keep in mind. ODOT is in love with these things called roundabouts. And so
Oh, God,
when you
here we
talk
go
to
again,
ODOT,
Wayne.
when you talk to ODOT, you remind them that we have more truck traffic than most of these little places, and roundabouts probably are not your best bet.
You can't do that.
I have other words I can tell them about those roundabouts.
That's
I
what they
know,
wanted to do.
and they
last
heard
time it came up.
me this weekend.
Can't do that
Um,
on Sunday.
So as most of you know, I was at the Oregon Mayors Association conference this weekend. And I have to tell you that I heard a lot of really good things, not just about our town, but about our city manager, about our assistant city manager. Let's just say mayors like to talk to each other about stuff that their city managers say. And we did a pretty good job here, folks. They're kind of on everybody's good list. So before you leave tonight, tell them good job and thank you. One of the things that came up this weekend, though, that we need to be aware of, how many of you know what FEMA is?
Yeah.
Okay, so Federal Emergency Management Agency. Well, the Federal Emergency Management Agency got into a, shall we say, a dispute with National Marine Fisheries over salmon, because National Marine Fisheries was sued by a bunch of environmental groups here in the state of Oregon.
There we go.
Okay, so now that was back in 2017. Fast forward to last year. They got sued again because they weren't implementing, quote, new rules fast enough. So now they are trying to fast track these new rules around all of the Oregon systems that are in place so that you can't do this fast, and are trying to impose a bunch of new restrictions on floodplains come December 1st. At the middle meeting in August, I'll have probably about a 5-minute slideshow deck to show you guys. We're going to talk about it. I'll be talking to the port between now and then, but it looks like there's going to need to be a lawsuit filed and several jurisdictions from all over the state, because guess what, folks? These rules affect all but 4.5 counties of our state. And you'll guess which 4.5 counties it doesn't affect. Oh, you know, the ones in Southeast Oregon. It affects everybody else. Everybody else. For example, right now, so the city of Warrenton is trying to work with FEMA to figure out exactly how this is going to work. If you wanted to change the door in your house and your house is in a floodplain, you have to get a permit. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Stu. I almost broke my neck too. And so I'll be bringing this stuff for us in the middle of August. And I think that it would be a good use of a small amount of our strategic reserve to join the lawsuit. I'll be talking to the port about that also. But if they do this, it's going to shut down all of the development essentially here on the Oregon coast. And that's just how it affects us.
Mayor, I'd like to add to that, the way they're gonna hold us hostage is that if you don't comply, you
Yes.
will not qualify to get flood insurance.
Right. And that's part of what I was going to bring up. What this coalition is looking to do is to get a temporary injunction filed on October 1st to keep the rules from going into effect on December 1st. So I think we have a good shot because they haven't even followed the federal guidelines for implementing rules. They've just decided to do it. So, but we're going to have to fight this. If they do this, it's going to shut down the fishing industry. It's going to shut down our port. It's going to shut down anybody wanting to do anything essentially within the floodways in this state. And I don't know about you, but I think it's stupid. And I will bring that slide deck and all that to you guys later.
Additionally, they want you to, and I read that in the slide deck. He provided that to, I think Justin and I got this slide deck, but additionally, they're gonna want the cities to adopt these ordinances and they're wanting it all done by the December of 24. We haven't even seen language of what they're gonna want. So,
well, and that's what I meant by they're bypassing all of Oregon's laws, because if we're going to do that, that has to go through the planning commission process, which the planning commission process all the way to ordinance is a 3-month process. I mean, they're just trying to ramrod it down our throat. There you go. So be prepared for that. Lastly, I want to say it was nice to come home to 85-degree weather instead of 99 and 100. It was warm in Klamath Falls this weekend, I got to tell you. But once again, our city was talked of well. People are starting to know us. The art community is starting to know us. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Lisa. Things are starting to move. And, you know, I really enjoyed talking to people about coming out. It was good that we were having Art, Oysters, and Brews 2 weeks afterwards, because I got a lot of people talking about coming out here on that weekend. And so the more people we can get in town, hey, Stu, I tell you what, I'll take 3,500 people on an AOB weekend as a good starter. Okay. But when I got back and heard 28K for fireworks night, I was pumped. Because that was one of the things that we talked about all weekend. People are talking about how great their fireworks were. And I kept telling them, you need to come to Toledo and see ours. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for putting up for the sickie. Y'all have a great weekend and enjoy this wonderful weather. What was that, Lisa?
That was me. I said, feel better.
Yeah, well, I'll find out in a minute if I have a chance to or not. All right, with that, we are adjourned.